Okay, so today we're going to talk critical minerals. I'm with Kiana van Vuuren, a director within our audit team here at Johannesburg, who has a particular focus on mining and minerals. My name is Olivier Barbeau, managing partner of Johannesburg, and also more global sector leader for mining. So Kiana, we've been to a number of mining indabas recently. We've also been to the critical minerals indaba down in Cape Town. What are critical minerals?
First of all, thanks for having me here. I think critical minerals is becoming an ever increasing topic that's been spoken about. It's becoming super important. What is a critical mineral?
Yes.
It drives electric vehicles, solar panels, wind turbines, advanced technologies. It's your lithium, cobalt, copper, PGMs. There's so many, but it is becoming an important topic because as technology is becoming a focus, so is critical minerals.
So these are minerals that we'll be using in the next wave of development within the world, which is everything to do with technology and battery technology.
And greener tech.
And does South Africa have much in the way of critical minerals?
South Africa actually is in a really good position when it comes to critical minerals. I think globally we have so many reserves. For example, PGMs, we have 82% of the world's reserves just on PGMs.
Significant.
So I think we do have a lot. I think what we do with it becomes important, and I don't think we are currently maximizing our value when it comes to critical minerals.
South Africa is mineral rich, but value poor. So we have mastered the art of extraction. However, we are still exporting our critical minerals in their rarest form. If we want to be concentrating on sustainable growth, jobs, and resilience, we need to move from just digging to designing, processing, and production. Beneficiation is a process of taking our raw materials that we've extracted, processing them, and refining them into a semi-finished or finished product that we can ultimately sell to the market. Why is this shift so critical from just extraction to beneficiation and being part of the processing and production? Countries that generally process their own minerals benefit from job creation, technological advancement, as well as economic diversification. At the moment, it is not optional for South Africa to move into beneficiation. It is actually an economic necessity. We're not only missing out on opportunities, but we're missing out on very large margins. We sit on a global scale of reserves of nickel, cobalt, lithium, rare earth elements, as well as PGMs. The world is moving into their green and digital revolution. I'm talking electric vehicles, hydrogen fuel cells, microelectronics, as well as wind turbines. Our critical minerals directly supply this demand. It is said that by 2050, the demand for these critical minerals would have grown sixfold. That means that South Africa has a window not only to be relevant, but to become influential.
So Johannesburg was built off the back of a gold rush. In fact, a lot of South Africa's wealth was built off the back of mining.
Yes.
This is the new wave of mining that's hitting us. How do you think we should approach things differently this time around?
I think we need to be strategic about it and intentional about it. There's a lot of red tape and regulation, no infrastructure to support it. So I think we need to be intentional about it and create a structured approach, and politicians and the country needs to see the urgency around it.
Mainly mines dig underground. Now, for example, your entire mining infrastructure relies on you being able to go underground. If a mine is affected by load shedding or weak infrastructure, which is what we currently experience in South Africa, those don't just delay your operations, it also basically affects the miner's health, because if they stuck underground with those fumes 24, 36 hours, it affects a lot. And I feel like in a way, the government is trying to combat this. They've introduced an operation called Vulindlela. It's not, I won't go into too much detail because it does affect the broader image, but basically within this project, they've now allowed mines to basically build their own power plants up to 100 megawatts. And a lot of mines don't actually need the full 100 megawatts. So what also happens is these mines that are actually taking this initiative and using the incentives provided under the Operation Vulindlela, they are now building these power plants or looking into building them by 2027, 2028. And once these are built, it will not only power the mines, keep the mines isolated from the grid, but it will also allow mining companies to sell electricity back to the country and generate more revenue for them, as well as improve their efficiency in the mines. I think that's one of the key factors in terms of something that will enable the mining sector to grow within the upcoming years.
As with everything involved with mining, there's a lot of capital required, and capital loves certainty.
Yes.
So capital likes to go where it's welcome. And so it likes to operate in environments where there's regulatory certainty. Do we see enough of that in South Africa? Would you like to see more of that?
Definitely not. I think that's one of South Africa's strategies in its six pillars that it's come up with. So there's a lot of regulation uncertainty, a lot of delays. There's a lot of steps that you need to take. I think we need a one-stop shop that we can go to and get all our licenses,
all the permits required.
all the permits.
So we've spoken about the
exploration.
new cadastral system
Yes.
being implemented by DMR. Do you see that as being a step in the right direction for us?
Yes, definitely. That's definitely what we need in South Africa. I think that's definitely also making foreign investors hesitant to come to South Africa and start this project, because it's just impossible and it takes way too long.
From the conferences that we attended recently, whether it was Mining Indaba or the Critical Minerals Conference, what are some of the common themes that you identified there and some of the opportunities that potentially you saw?
I think a lot of the common themes is obviously greener tech and upskilling. So we need to upskill the country with greener tech, because it doesn't help having all this infrastructure and no one to run with it.
The answer doesn't only lie in our mineral wealth that we're sitting with, it actually lies in our people as well. So how we use our resources to transform what we have into something great. A skilled and adaptable workforce is something that is critical in South Africa, and it's actually not a nice to have in 2025. One of the advantages of South Africa is that it does have quite a youthful population. So we can definitely use that to our advantage to take hold of the resources that we currently have. If we talk about the human capital equation, this is how human-related factors impact mining performance. So the human capital equation speaks to value drivers. So that would be skills, innovation, high performance, and comparing that to value detractors. So that's like skill shortages, labor disputes, regulatory red tape, burdens. Our goal, especially in the mining sector, is then to maximize our value adders and to minimize our value detractors to get the most out of the human capital. To break down this approach, one of the main aspects is government being involved. So it's very important that they create a clear vision for the future and invest in education. The importance of this is to create a universal understanding within our own country and globally for the skills that are needed, the way forward, and how to match this supply and demand. Along with this, academic institutions should also consider partnering with government and mining institutions to match their curricula with what is required in the skills shortages for critical minerals. I think this is particularly important with processing and digital mining technologies, the beneficiation side of things that really needs upskilling and investment in that education side. Along with this, the existing mining companies should also consider investing in their current employees and upskilling them and giving them training towards the future. So this includes targeted technical training, continuous professional development, and digital readiness, as this is important to upskill existing human capital.
Oliver, so how do you think South Africa, what can South Africa implement in order to make investments more attractive and for foreign investors to want to invest into the critical mineral space in South Africa?
Let's start off by saying that South Africa is blessed with an abundance of natural resources. This country has been built off the back of that. And critical minerals has given us the next life of mining within South Africa. What we need to find ways to attract capital to explore those opportunities. Mining is a very capital intensive business, and as we've discussed frequently today, capital goes where it's welcome. Capital goes where there is transaction certainty. At the moment, South Africa from a regulatory landscape doesn't feel as certain as other potentially more complicated jurisdictions on the African continent that have been able to attract large-scale investment in their mining sector. So what would we want to see from business in South Africa to change that? Regulatory certainty, policy certainty coming from the DMR. I think the implementation of the cadastral system will go a long way to alleviating some of the concerns. But where we've really fallen down as a country is, in fact, the exploration side of things. And what's holding back exploration?
The exploration deficit in South Africa is characterized by a decline in global exploration share from 5% to 1% over the last 20 years. That means that we're exploring a lot less of our ground and understanding a lot less of the minerals within it. Additionally, a lack of new project pipelines causes unpredictability in the forecasting of future projects in the mining space. Furthermore, a deficit in the yearly expenditure of roughly 10 billion rand causes investors to be even more hesitant to enter the country. With the basic skeleton of an effective supply chain within the mining industry, one of the major barriers to foreign direct investment will be broken down, thus incentivizing further exploration projects to understand our minerals better.
Well, exploration is naturally a risky part of the value chain within mining, and the BE legislation in South Africa makes it complicated or difficult for junior miners to go and spend the rands in exploration where there may or may not be an asset available, when they need to give away a large chunk of their equity.
Very high risk.
Exactly. So they're in the high risk portion of the curve, and they're having to supplement someone else's equity. So that's one of the limitations around there. You did touch on another important point, was once the mines are up and running, they are huge consumers of power. At the moment, we don't have sufficient power certainty in the country. We did at one point, which is why we had so many mines, but we need to go back towards creating power certainty, and that might be in multiple. It might be traditional power from coal, might be some alternate power, solar, wind, but the energy mix has got to be right to be able to make it sustainable for mining going forward. And then naturally, exchange control regulations also play a factor in it. If foreign investors come in and they put money into South Africa, can they readily get their capital returned back out of the country? Is it all doom and gloom? I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I think many of these issues can be solved through policy certainty, the right direction from government. I'd love to see a world where mining thrives again in South Africa. What this country needs is job creation.
And that's what it's going to do, create jobs.
Mining has historically been a significant employer in South Africa. I'd love to see that. So overall, I'm actually bullish South Africa, notwithstanding the challenges that we've spoken about. But there does need to be some change along the way. And us attending different conferences, like whether it be Mining in Durban or Critical Minerals, or I attended Energy Week in Paris, there's interest in the continent, there's interest in South Africa. We've got to make the right environment to attract capital.
So in terms of the reciprocality of the revenue generation, it's not just private companies, it's also the government. And as we know, South Africa does need that government revenue to come in order to not just improve the mining sector, but improve the lives of the general people like you and I. I mean, our roads, our public transport, all of that relies on that revenue generation by the government.
So being involved in these mining and energy audits has shown me just how important it is for these companies to invest in their workforce and in their people for their own long-term sustainability as well as that of the country.
These changes would allow South Africa to be well placed to capitalize on our uniquely advantageous position and to create sustainable growth and wealth within the mining landscape.
If we export raw materials, we are exporting job opportunities, value creation, intellectual property, and influence. But if we invest in our value chains, from mine all the way to the market, we are not only becoming global suppliers, we're becoming a global force.